What's up, everybody? It's your boy Neo Starling, and I'm actually going to be doing a reaction today. So, on the interwebs, one of my online peeps actually sent me this link of this particular video. The YouTuber is named Depressed Ginger. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that I'm not here to make fun of this guy. I don't know who he is. This is just the first time that I've been exposed to this content. He has a pretty big following. He has about 70,000, 74,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty big. I'm just a measly 400-ish guy. I haven't even broken the upper echelon of the 1,000 mark. But the title of the video I thought was really interesting, and based off of the type of content that I do, I figured let me take a shot at this reaction stuff and see, you know, like where it goes, right? So I'm gonna actually react to his video today. The name of his video is called "When I Realized It's Over as a Young Man." Right now, that title is a little doom and gloom here, but we're gonna see where it goes, right? I'm not gonna make any assumptions. There's no preconceived notions here. Let me just check it out and see where we got it. Okay, so let's get to this video right here. We're gonna just hit play.
Realization that I had last week, and I don't know, I guess I thought I would just make a video about it. I kind of ranted maybe like in another video a few weeks ago just to talk about random stuff. So last week I realized, and this is like a very niche thing, like a niche problem. I realized that my profile picture for this YouTube channel, and actually for my Twitter.
So this is the preamble. This is right before the actual topic begins here. So he's not really saying anything yet in the first 20 seconds, but let's see what happens. We're gonna keep listening. All right, we're gonna see where this goes.
Was over 3 years old. That picture, it's still the same picture. I haven't changed it, but it's from originally the summer of 2020. I think I took it in my foyer on a tripod. It's just like a headshot photo of me. And I mean, I like the photo because I stopped doing, face cams with my videos. I used to always do face cams, and now I stopped. And the reason I stopped is not because, I think I look dumb or, I'm ashamed. It's just because it's easier to upload videos without it.
You know, that's actually really interesting that he says that. I've actually been considering that for a while myself. I've always wanted to show myself on video because I believe that, when you have a face behind the voice, it often can help push your message ahead. People are more likely to listen to somebody that has an identity, that has a look, right? Versus just a random voice on the internet. But I can understand completely how it can be significantly easier for somebody to upload said content when they don't have to do as much editing. That's probably something I should consider in the future, to be perfectly honest with you, because realistically, I'm personally a perfectionist, right? So often I end up not uploading videos just for the simple fact that I don't think it's produced properly enough. So this is a little bit of a simpler format. So I can understand him going on here. Let's see what else he's got.
And especially now with all the content I'm making, there's really no need for a face cam. And also, like, the idea of me filming my face like wide frame with my iPhone is so horrible in terms of upload speed. There's just no way I'd be able to do it. I could pump out so many more videos. But long story short, I decided to take another headshot of myself because, I probably should update it. I mean, it's been 3 years. I don't know what the standard update time is for people, because it's kind of weird. It's a
I mean, I'm guessing that his headshot is just going to be the photo for this video, the one that he utilized. So yeah, let's see what he's got.
weird thing. Who else has the problem where your YouTube channel, is your face and you have to update it? But yeah, so I was like, all right, I'll just take a headshot of myself on my tripod. I got a tripod, like, this is a newer tripod, maybe like 5 or 6 months ago I got this, but I ended up taking it and I showed my Discord, and it's just like, I came to the realization it's over, man. It's just so over for.
That's so, I don't know why he would say that. Okay, so obviously, as you can see here, he is a ginger, right? Which I guess would go hand in hand with the name of his channel, Depressed Ginger. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to give this guy like a face rating or looks or anything like that because I'm not a black pillar. I don't do face ratings. I don't do consultations for any of this crap. Like, he looks the way he looks. Like, he's a regular human being. I think he's a decent looking guy. So, maybe he can change some things up like any of us can for that matter. But let's see what he's got to say, because he's already, he's going with the, oh, it's all over thing, right? But let's see where he's going with this.
For me, this past, like, I don't know, 2 months has been so horrible, mainly because I'm dealing with side effects from, quite honestly, I think an anti dandruff shampoo that's given me horrible brain fog and also seemingly given me rapid heart rate. I've probably gotten about 3 hours of sleep in the last 2 nights. I have my fucking eyes closed as I'm talking right now, just because I have horrible sleep deprivation. And the worst.
You know, I could understand that actually, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how old this kid is, but I know me personally, I've been having some rapid heart rate. I'm 39. I'm about to be 40 years old. So I know exactly what he means when he's talking about you're trying to get some sleep, but you only get 3 hours. I'm actually pretty sleep deprived right now myself, to be perfectly honest with you. I just got out of an 11-hour work shift and I decided to do this before I make an attempt to get some shut eye. But realistically, I'm probably not going to fall asleep until maybe like 3 in the morning. And I know some of you have had that and continue to have that same issue. So I don't know if it's the product of some sort of shampoo that you used or anything like that. I don't know if it works that way, but maybe, who knows? Like, did it absorb into your scalp and suddenly you started like developing certain conditions? Who knows? Let's see where he goes with this.
Worst thing with the insomnia that I have, there's no cure for insomnia, guys. It's so crazy. I always talk to my mom about this. Every person, if you want to look up self-improvement hacks, the first thing they say, get more sleep. Yeah, but you can't just snap your fingers and go to bed. You literally have to be in a state where you're sleepy, and I'm like got this rapid heart rate at.
I completely 100% agree. There's no disagreement on this particular topic. Nope. I agree. You can't just fall asleep. It's not that easy. Again, certain people can. I actually have a friend. He has this magical ability to randomly fall asleep while we're just hanging out. And I've always been a little envious. I'm not going to lie. I'll keep it 100. But he's completely right. Like, I'll be laying down attempting to sleep, and sometimes it'll take hours. And then I end up on my phone. I try to play some white noise in the background, listen to like a boring podcast or something, anything in an attempt to gain some remnants of my former life when I once did have a good sleeping pattern. As you get older, it does become significantly more difficult, and getting more sleep is not that simple. But there are things you can do to sort of circumvent that, and these are things that I'm also looking into as well. Like if you have sleep apnea, for example, sleep apnea, you are supposed to sleep with some sort of CPAP machine. It's that machine that like pumps oxygen into your lungs while you sleep so that it can keep like your airways open. That's something that I'm looking into because I actually do have sleep apnea, and that's something that I know from a diagnosis. And again, a lot of that can happen from being overweight or maybe some other underlying medical conditions. Who knows? Whatever the case may be, but yeah, it's really horrible when you can't get any quality of sleep, man. I'm talking about debilitation. You wake up with them circles under your eyes. You're struggling to get up. You're in pain for absolutely no reason. You need to chug like 2 glasses of water just to make some sort of attempt to wake up your dying carcass. It's it's really messed up. But I agree with that part so far too. So far, I'm not really disagreeing with too much he's saying here. Let's see what else he's got. So far, he seems like a pretty down to earth person that just might be sad sometimes. Like that's what I'm seeing so far. But let's see what else he's got.
Night now, I can't fall asleep even after having like no sleep the night prior, and it's just so bad. But I was just looking at myself and I was just like, the realization of I think the realization of it being over is like realizing your childhood, your youthfulness, everything that young people can get away with. It's all gone. Like once you hit a certain age, for me it was 23. That was a really bad age for me, and it was like a midlife crisis age. I know that sounds ridiculous cuz most people get it when they're like 30 or 40, but with the internet and stuff, your people are probably just getting it younger now. And for me,
I mean, it depends realistically. I do agree with that last part about the internet might be having some sort of effect on you when it comes to that. But at 23, no, I definitely didn't feel that way. I was actually on top of the world. I was indestructible, man. You couldn't stop me. I didn't get any hangovers if I went out to drink. I was able to work out effortlessly without any sort of issues. I was able to sleep pretty well. Um, I didn't have the healthiest of lifestyles, but I still, for the most part, was okay. Outside of me sucking with women at the time, that was pretty much as far as it went. Like at 23 years old, for you to have those feelings, man, things must be getting pretty tough. There has to be something underlining outside of like just the world advancing, with technology. Let's see what else he's got.
for me, when I hit 23, and with me still living at home, it's just like, dude, no meaningful relationships in life. You're just such a fucking loser. Like, that's what I thought. And it's only gotten worse.
Oh, we got some ads here, so I am going to let this ad play out while I just talk to you guys. Um, we are doing this on YouTube after all. So he actually said something really interesting about meaningful relationships that I think that might be one of the issues. I don't think people are meant to be isolated the way that they are. You know, we are a social species. We're supposed to interact with others. Even the greatest of introverts have one or two or three friends that they're really close to and they can act normal with, you know. But if they're in a large group of people, they tend to not necessarily act that way. Um, Social interactions and close relationships with people, whether they be friends or family, wherever you find your tribe, you know, I think it's really important, and that's something that needs to expand outside of the internet. Now, granted, I won't be disingenuous and say that the internet's not a good way to make connections like that, because it certainly is. But you need to have those real life connections. They just bring a liveliness to you that you don't get anywhere else. So if you're struggling with just not being good with having social interactions with people, those are things that you definitely need to work on a little bit. Let's see what else he's got.
I'm at the point where I'm dealing with like external body issues. Like, not that my body is shutting down, but just like I have so many side effects from shit that I don't even know what it is, and it's so annoying. And on top of that, like, I keep thinking I need to move. I need to move.
Okay, so if you're feeling that you're having a ton of side effects, I suggest going to the doctor. You know, get your annual physical, get a blood panel, get all your blood work done, see what's wrong, see what levels are off. Maybe you're, you know, extremely vitamin D deficient. Some people definitely do suffer from that. And popping a pill a day could be the solution to something like that. You know, not everything is just work out, bro. You know, if you just get some sunlight, bro, everything will be better. Sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes there are underlining issues that we could have. You know, we could have something that's hereditary that could have been passed on to us by a family member of some sort, or you know, maybe we're just missing a certain chemical that's just not being created a certain way. Now, granted, for a lot of chronic conditions, you know, exercise, getting some sunlight, interacting with people, eating better, sleeping better, yes, all that stuff works, but nothing can be actually figuring out what's wrong with your physical DNA. You know, get that blood work done. If you have to go see a cardiologist for your rapid heart rate, go. You know, I know that I've been seeing one recently. I think that's really important, you know, especially as you get older. You know, life is a battle of attrition at the end of the day. Like, we have to face it. It doesn't matter how tough we are. It doesn't matter how much we maintain our frame. You know, it doesn't matter how alpha we pretend to act with the world. None of that stuff makes any difference, because realistically, you can't take all your money or fame with you to the grave. It is inevitable. We live through attrition. So what we need to do is make better efforts to take better care of ourselves. But the way that we do that ultimately is through getting checkups. You know what I mean? See where you're at. Don't be afraid to, um, you know what? Honestly, a lot of people, I think, are just afraid to get checked out because they know or feel something might be wrong, but then it becomes real when they go. But what you don't realize is that it really will become real if you don't go. So just go. All right, let's see what else. So far, I'm not seeing anything too crazy here.
I need to move, but then the thing, moving entails so much bullshit. Like, I'm gonna have to stop all my videos. You know, I'm gonna lose money, significant money. But it's like I should have enough money saved up at this point to be able to do it. I do, invest in cryptocurrency. I think with me, like, the idea of do a 401k or do something that's normie. There's no way I can do like a normie type of investment strategy because my job isn't normal. I don't have a salary to where every single year you're making 70,000.
Well, you know what? Honestly, if your main job is content creation, it does get a little finicky when it comes to that, because your income comes directly from the amount of effort that you output, you know, as well as the amount of support that you have from your audience, you know, your fans, your followers, people that believe in you, people that care about you. It is really difficult because you can make a video that can go viral, or you can make a video that's a stinker, and that can affect your income. So I can see that being a difficult thing. And when it comes to moving, if your income is tied to that and you're not like such a huge content creator that just has a ton of disposable income, then it certainly can affect you. Me personally, I'm what you would call a normie. You know, I have a regular job, so even then, moving can be difficult because not everybody has the money put away for like an emergency fund. There are people that don't even have like $100 to $200 in their savings for an emergency if something were to happen, let alone enough to move. You know, moving requires a security deposit. It requires 2 or 3 months of rent, depending based off of whether or not your credit score, you know, is at a certain level and the landlord believes that they can trust you. If you are making your money with content creation, they might not see that as a viable option. You know, they might be like, YouTube, that's a job? Back in my day, we worked in the factories, right? But yeah, moving might not necessarily always be that simple. So yeah, I can agree with that based off of what you're doing, but it's not impossible.
I might make 130,000 or I might make 50,000 because that's my job. It's how many videos you upload, how good are your videos, how good's the quality. So this idea to where they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't invest in crypto. It's a risky asset." Like, dude, my whole shit is risky anyways. It's just from the nature of YouTube. Like, YouTube might fuck me and imagine I get demonetized or something. I would need some type of miracle at that point to try and get back on my feet. And that's mainly why. I mean, I've always loved crypto, but that's why I invest mainly into crypto rather than the stock market. But I don't know. It's just so demoralizing once you grow up and you realize, you missed shit and stuff. And, I grew up a loser. There's no.
Okay, before he goes into a tangent about him being a loser, I will say I'm not really a crypto guy. I didn't really get on that game. Honestly, it's just never been my style. I guess I'm a boomer when it comes to that. But there is certainly value to it if you know what you're doing, if you studied up enough on it, and it really depends. You know, it varies. Again, when your income is relegated based off of the amount of content that you produce versus you having like a steady salary or an hourly wage, it can be difficult. Now, regarding him being a loser, this is actually the meat of the video. I guess what we're going to talk about here, and we're going to see what he has to say about this.
No doubt about it. Anything else, me saying anything else is just cope. I mean, I would get questions on my live streams and they'd be like, they'd ask me stuff about my life, like normal stuff, and I would just kind of avoid it, but it's just coping. It's just like, I have no meaningful relationships, and I think a lot of people are going through that now with the internet and shit.
Okay, so this is a term that I've heard used around a lot in like the black pill and like red pill spheres, right? Where people talk about you're just coping. Everything is cope. Like realistically, everything is cope. Everything we do is cope. Like we cope in different ways. If we get injured, for example, and we want to eat like a comfort food, something that makes us feel good, that's us coping with an injury that we have. We cope with every single thing we do in our lives. So if you choose a cope, your copium that can help you push through things, then it doesn't mean that it's a bad cope. What makes it a bad cope is when you don't do anything, when you cease to believe and function. You just become an energy vampire. You're a parasitic organism that just takes and doesn't give or create anything. Those type of people that just refuse to do anything. That's the real cope. The real cope is making your necessity a virtue, is taking something that you're not good at and telling yourself, you know what? Because I suck at this, that means that it really sucks and everyone else is bad at this, and I'm the virtuous one. I'm the one that realistically knows what's right and wrong. You'll hear a lot of people like that, like a lot of doom and gloomers that think that they're actually hyper intelligent when they're not realistically, and they think you're dumb because you have hope and you believe in things. Things like that have always kind of ticked me off, but that's a rant for another day. We'll get into that another time, but let's see what else he's got going on here.
And like, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember, if you're a younger person when you were like 20 or 21, especially if you're a little bit older now, and you would go on Tinder and you would download it and oh, you would get 15 people that like you. You're such a giga chat. It's amazing. And then, they would force you because you're horny as fuck. They would force you to buy, Tinder Gold for $9.99. And you think to yourself, you're like, all right, if 15 people like me in the span of 2 or 3 hours, what are the odds they're all going to be ugly? Well, Patrick, they're all ugly. Actually, you know what? 14 of them are ugly, and the other one is a bot. That's normally how it goes for most people on those apps are so fucking horrible, man.
I mean, I will agree that those apps are kind of bad, and they are designed strategically to take more money from you because I remember at an earlier time, like proto OK Cupid, like when I first started using that, you didn't have to pay for anything. You used to get all the messages. You were able to message whoever you wanted. There was no like paywall for anything. Now there's a paywall for you to swipe towards a certain amount of people per day. Certain messages won't be shown to you if you don't pay. I know this because that happened to me before. I remember one time when I found myself single for a time, I I was like, fuck it, let me pay for OkCupid and see what happens. And I ended up paying $20, and then suddenly a bunch of messages that previously weren't there popped up from like different dates. And one of them was from somebody that like I used to talk to a while back. And this chick messaged me like a year ago, but I didn't see that message for an entire year because I didn't pay the fee. You know, I didn't pay to play, so to speak. And so yeah, they can be a waste of time and a little scammy, but I don't see anything wrong with maximizing your time. You know, like if you have a very busy schedule, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a dating app where you just kind of swipe left and right a little bit. And you know, if you find somebody, you find someone, that's cool. But if not, that still is not a good replacement for meeting people in the real world. You know, I would always suggest if you have other interests, like you can find people in those same niches as you. You know, like if you're like in a jogging group, for example, you might find people that are like minded, and you know, you never know, there might be a shorty there or a dude or you know whatever you're into. There might be somebody there that you can possibly talk to. It does vary. I don't think dating apps are the solution, but they're certainly not impossible. You can find people. It has happened, and it will continue to happen. So yeah, let's go on.
Those apps, I mean, any girl, I just got so annoyed. This one chick was just like, add me on Snap. She's like 23 years old. She's like, add me on Snapchat. Bitch, you're 23. Get off of Snapchat. Just like grow up at some point. I don't know what to tell you, but it's just, and then, oh, follow my Instagram. It's just such a joke. And then the other thing that's so amazing with those apps, especially if you're an average looking dude, and you know who you are if you're average, like,
Okay, before we go on with this, I find it interesting because it is true. You are gonna find a lot of people that are just trying to like funnel you into like their OnlyFans or their Instagram or you know whatever social media they have available. That is certainly the case. I would say the thing about dating apps, there are pretty women on dating apps, but the exceptionally good-looking ones, like the nines and tens of the world, a lot of them are not really on dating apps. So a lot of times they are going to be bots, but it's not to say that they don't use the apps because they do, but a majority of the time they don't really have to use it, you know, because their beauty, I guess is what you call pretty privilege, right? Like their beauty affords them the ability to not have to get on an app and swipe back and forth, you know, because they meet people in real life. When you're attractive, you attract people. People tend to naturally gravitate towards you. That is the definition of attract. Attract is when you bring something from one place to the other. And the fact that we have the ability to pull a human being out of our cell phone is already incredible to begin with. But very like hyper attractive men and women are not going to typically be on dating apps. So a lot of the times that you find them, they're either bots or they're trying to funnel you to their social media. Again, there are exceptions, but the majority of the time you're going to find average looking people on it. And average doesn't mean you're ugly, by the way. Like average is fine. I like average. There's nothing wrong with average. All right, let's see what else we got.
obviously you're not fat. There's nothing really horribly wrong with you, but you're not the top male and you know it. And a lot of us are there. And all you have to do really is watch videos on YouTube of guys pretending to be like, I don't know, a girl that's like a fucking six, and she'll have a smorgasbord of like really attractive dudes. I'm talking about like 30 or 40 matches. And it's like, what's the point? I'm going to be fighting with 30 or 40 normies to attract some girl who's like a six trying to think of lines against like 30 dudes. And the girl's like, she's kind of attractive. She's
Okay, so as far as the normie thing is concerned, now granted, look, speaking as a male, right? I was blessed with height. Like I'm over 6'1", right? So height has never been like a factor for me. But I do have other things that I feel that work against me. You know what I mean? Like I have the propensity to gain weight very quickly. So if I'm not at the gym all the time, I just like balloon into this like enormous gastropod, and you know, typically there's something wrong with everyone. Nobody is perfect. You know what I'm saying? So Normies definitely do get women. It's not just like the top 1 or 20% of men. That's not real. Those are like hyper successful or hyper attractive people. But if you think about it, those are the people that often don't even reproduce, right? So if that were the case, then our population would be like in the dumps. Regular people do get together with regular people. Water seems to find its own level, so to speak. So um it is a little disingenuous to say that, like normies can't really have a shot. I don't really think that's the case. Now, as far as like them fighting for like a 6 or 5 or whatever the case may be, I have seen that actually. This is just like personal anecdotes. Like I have seen, I'd be at a bar with like a bunch of dudes in the back. Like when I used to smoke cigarettes, I would be back there grabbing a smoke with them, and some like super average or probably not even an attractive girl would walk in the back in the patio, but because she'd be the only girl in sight, suddenly, everyone would like gravitate towards her. And I remember thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to subject myself to this. I would leave, or I'd finish my smoke, or I'd talk to one of my other friends or whatever, and then I would leave. And what's interesting about that is that when you ignore them, when you're not the guy that's trying to garner their attention simultaneously with the rest of the orbiters, inadvertently that actually makes you more attractive to them, which is funny. I've always found that really interesting, because you do end up getting attention sometimes by not paying attention, because it's an unusual strategy. It's not the norm. A lot of times they can be used to a lot of people surrounding them. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. Let's this is an interesting video. Let's see what else he's got.
Maybe okay, and I have to fight all these guys for this chick. It's just a waste of time, man. I remember it used to do that. That shit always sucked, but I don't know, guys. Like life right now, the way it is, it's just not healthy. Like the idea, I know there was this big movement when I was younger, or I don't even know if it was big, but I did remember the sentiment. People were like, oh, it's okay to be alone. It's good to be lonely. The fuck it is. No, it's not, man. I mean, we need other people. We need other people. And if you don't have other people for extended and extended and extended periods of time, you will be, I mean, unless you're like some crazy person who's finally like, because I mean there are people I guess go out in the woods and stuff for years, but especially if you're like a younger person, you will be fucked, you will be depressed, because we need other people.
You know what? He's absolutely right. And I actually said that earlier. I recall saying that we as people, as human beings, as Homo sapiens, we are a social species. We require the interaction of others in order for us to feel good. Like we thrive off of each other's energies. I don't know if you've ever found yourself in those situations. Me personally, like if I go to the gym or if I go to a bar, I don't like going to empty gyms or empty bars. Some people might look at an empty gym and say, yes, score, I can use whatever machine I want, it's a wrap, I'm gonna do whatever I want. But I've always liked seeing people in the gym, not overly packed where I can't use anything, but I like seeing people there, because I feel like we feed off of each other's energy. The gym is the one place in the world where we're all equal. Lady Gaga has to push out a workout the same way the rest of us do. There's this siphoning of energy that you give off to each other. There's this harmonic convergence I've always felt. And that energy can be produced in many different places. So definitely you can get depressed if you're alone for too long. So whenever people tell you, oh, you need to step on some grass, that's true. All right. I want you to know that first and foremost, that's very true. You need to step on some grass sometimes. You need to go outside in the daylight. You need to give yourself the opportunity to interact. You're going to miss every shot in this world that you don't take. So yeah, I completely agree. I am lockstep with him in this particular topic. Let's see what else he's got
In our lives, and honestly that's like what I realized, but recently it's gotten just so bad for me because I'm just dealing with all this other shit like in my mind, and I wonder if it's from side effects of something. I really don't know what it is, but I just took a photo of myself, and I was like, I never used to. I don't like taking photos of myself. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. Like I'll go to the bathroom with the lights off. I guess that's kind of weird, but I do that just because I don't like looking at myself. And that's probably like the first photo I've taken of myself in like 2 years. I mean, nobody takes photos of me. I mean, who the fuck? It's not like I have fucking friends to go out and take photos with. I guess my mom takes photos, when we go out and do stuff. But Other than that, I decided to take a photo of myself. Maybe I'll change it, maybe I won't. I mean, I'll have to replace the background to the same blue color that I have. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely it does get to that point sometimes. A lot of people don't like taking photos of themselves in spite of what the internet might tell you. I don't like taking photos of myself. I actually scrubbed my Instagram a while back because one, I wanted to sort of rebrand myself, but two, kind of hated the way I looked in a lot of those photos. I am in no way, shape, or form a photogenic individual. You know, if you ever like saw me in real life, I think I come across much more attractive and confident in real life than I do in these videos that I produce. But I do understand the importance of having like up to date headshots and things of that nature, for work or whatever purpose you might need it for. Those things can be important. But nowadays, you have AI doing that shit for you. You know what I mean? It's like if you look at somebody's LinkedIn, that's not them. If it looks way too polished, if they look way too clean, there's like an AI app that did that for them. It took like 4 or 10 photos that they put together, and they just combined it into like this perfect being that doesn't exist. And you know what, there's nothing wrong with that personally for if you're utilizing it for headshots and whatnot, but I do agree it can be a little difficult to want to like take photos of yourself and whatnot. I'm certainly not a fan, not anymore.
I'll have to remove the background and then replace it, because when it comes to like a YouTube channel, you're gonna want it to look, even if you change your profile pic to like a relatively same thing. And then this is another thing I thought I would share that's funny. So back in 2021, it was probably like I don't even remember it being that bad, but it was probably the worst part of my life in 2021. I was at that point, in terms of finances at least, not in terms of like mental health. At this point, I think I was 21 years old. Yeah, 21, and I had about $50 in my bank account, I want to say. And this is like a fucking, like, you don't understand. I did not go to college. So you'd be like, oh my God, you've had 3 years outside of college. What have you been doing? Well, I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know. I was like trying to get bigger on YouTube, I guess. But I
Hey, listen, I will say this, okay? Not attending college doesn't necessarily make you an idiot. Realistically, I always say don't let school get in the way of your education, because there are plenty of things you can learn outside of school. Now, granted, you do need a piece of paper for the world to dictate that you have some sort of competency in some particular skill that you studied for multiple years after high school. Um, I think personally that if you're not going to go into anything STEM related, and again, this isn't like school advice for anybody. Please don't take what I say seriously. This is just my own headcanon. I've always looked at it like this. Like, if you're just going to go into liberal arts, it's kind of a waste of time. And, you could say, oh, that's just like some libertarian argument. No, it's not. I think it's a human being argument, because you could find yourself getting a lot of jobs that will have absolutely nothing to do with that education. Now if you're going for some sort of like vocation, or, maybe you just want to go because you want to like smarten up a little more and you want to sound more articulate, then yeah, maybe it can help you. But if you're going to get into schools that have actual careers, if you go into the STEM field, or heck, even if you go into a trade school, trade is you're training for something specific, and you can end up making a lot of money. A lot of blue collar tradesmen are making 100 plus K a year. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a bad option. It is very viable. So always, believing that college is like the only solution, it might not work for everybody. Not everybody can sing or dance. Not everybody is trained, or rather, will even have that opportunity to do so. You know what I mean? So, especially with the internet and the way it is now, how we make stupid people famous every day. You might make a video that goes viral, right? And then that's your opportunity to seize the chance and actually try to believe in yourself and, put some content out there. So as much as we make fun of all these Zoomers and whatnot over, basically making their careers off of TikTok, they're the ones they're laughing to the bank, So what can you really tell them? So you can't blame somebody for wanting to like take a chance on themselves and actually try to create something outside of the norm. But now I'm just rambling. Let's see what else he's got.
wasn't even, I was lazy, but so you can take a look at this. This is just horrible. This is me. Hey man, this is Patrick from, I'm not gonna dox myself, because I mean people are trying to dox me on my live stream. I'm not saying where I'm from. We spoke over the phone about a potential job yesterday afternoon. I was wondering if I could come in for an interview, possibly either Friday or Saturday. You know what? I like that. I think I'm pretty professional. That's very nice there. Yeah, Friday. This is the boss or whatever. Yeah, Friday I'll be there till 5. Saturday I only come in the morning. And then I responded the next day. So, oh, I waited a little bit. Remember when remember when you would text girls and you'd have to wait to respond? Yeah,
Oh my
because you
god.
don't want to seem clingy.
Oh my god. You see that he legit took what like a dating coach would tell you as advice for messaging his manager or potential manager rather. And he waited the next day to respond. Yo, this isn't some shorty you're trying to talk to, right? And by the way, just on a side note, I think that's dumb too, personally. Like we all have our phones on us 24/7. There's no way that 2 or 3 days pass and we just, oh, I just suddenly saw your message. No, no, you didn't. You had your phone on you the whole time. You know it. She knows it. Everyone that she tells about later on when they're clowning you knows it. And I think it's pointless. Now, yes, there are going to be times where we're busy throughout the day where we're not going to be able to answer our phones. We all have jobs, or hopefully we do. And, there are going to be times where we can't answer it. But you mean to tell me that when you went to the bathroom or when you clocked out or when you went to lunch, you were just so flooded with messages that you couldn't respond to somebody that like sent you a message? And by the way, this isn't towards him personally to Depressed Ginger. This is just to people in general that think that that's good advice to just ignore the girl. Now, granted, I wouldn't respond like the second she responds to me. I'll respond when I get a chance, but I'm also not gonna wait like a day or two later and just be like, oh, I just got this because I'm hyper busy 24/7. Like that's not real. No one's busy that often. And the same applies to the women that do that to you as well. Like if she pretends that she just saw that, she's also lying. And we all know it. So I just think that's hilarious that he used that as a strategy for a potential boss. But I also think he also kind of did it in jest. Like he's being really funny about it. I don't think he's taking it too seriously. So that's fine.
Dude, that shit is just, I don't, it's just such a bullshit game. But then I responded, is it okay if I swing up there tomorrow around 2 for an interview? Yeah, 2 is good. Okay. So the context to that, I remember this vividly. This was in May. I went up to it was some disheveled landscaping place, and they had a little store in the front and just a bunch of trees. This was probably like 20 minutes from my house, but it was in a completely out of the way area that I would never ever go. This was like the only time I've ever been to this area in my life. And they had like a little shop in the front and then just a bunch of disheveled trees and crap in the back and then bark mulch on the side. And I remember like walking around the side of the building to meet this guy, and he was like, yeah, we talked about the job, and it was just, physical bullshit, whatever. And he was like, yeah, it's about $10. I can give you $10 an hour, 20 hours a week. And it's just like, oh my God. Anyone, like, I know some people that work jobs like that, it's just so fucking brutal. And that would be me without YouTube. Absolutely. You guys think I have any type of credentials or.
You know what? $10 an hour for 20 hours a week is borderline poverty. You can't really survive with that anywhere. I came from a time when minimum wage was like $5.50 or like $8 or something like that. Or no, I think it was $7.50. And you really can't survive like that, especially depending on what state you live in. Now, if you live in a really cheap state and you live with your family, you can finagle that somehow to make it workable for you while you do something else. But if you're on your own and you're struggling, you have like no money in your pocket and you're trying to just get by, and they tell you $10 an hour for 20 hours. Now, granted, I would take it being that it's only 20 hours a week. So that's half a work week. So you could spend that other time doing something else. You could look for another job, or, you can do some of like the, what is it called? I forget the name of that, where if you do like Grubhub and, like Uber, things like that. There's a specific name for that community. I just forgot the name of it. But yeah, you can do that as well. You can just drive around and deliver food. But if you don't have a car, you can do it on a bike. There are alternate ways that you can make money on your own now. And if you're a content creator and, you're making any sort of money, then, it's more like of a substitute for it, because if you're not that big of a content creator, but you're making some sort of income, you do need something else in order to continue. But let's see what else he's got.
Resume to do anything. The only resume that I have in terms of like being a professional at anything is my YouTube channel and my videos. That's it. That is the only thing I have. My GPA, I can't even remember what it was. The only thing I remember about my high school in terms of like GPA/grades, I finished. We had a class because at the end of the year when you're a senior, that you do get to see where you finished, what was your class placement. We had a bigger class, like 660 kids. I want to say I was like 480 or something, maybe 470 out of 6. But my GPA was horrible, maybe like a C average. I want to say something like that. So I really have just zero credentials. And in 2021, I don't even think I was working. I was like bouncing around. I remember going to a factory. Maybe it was, oh, it was Vitamix. Yes, my mom made me go to try and
I mean, here's the thing about having zero credentials in 2021. You know, that's enough of a time period where, well, mind you, we were going through the beer bug at that time, right? So that was the sort of pause that like everybody was asking for, right? Where people would tell themselves, "Hey, man, if I just had enough time, if I didn't have to work this soulless job, you know, I can start making content and I can show the world where I'm at right now." You know what I mean? And some people made it big, some people blew up, and some didn't. But not having any actionable like marketable skills, it can be a detriment to you, but it is in no certain way the only way that you can make money. You know, like you can go online and learn these things. You can teach yourself. You can educate yourself now. We have the ability to look up whatever info we want. You know, we can learn how to do anything. You know, if you're doing video, you can learn video editing. You can learn audio engineering. You can learn whatever you want. You know, you can go online and take an IT course. You can take a CompTIA course and, you know, get like an IT certification, you know, do cybersecurity. There's a ton of things that you can do now. So even if you don't have the skills now, it doesn't mean that you never will. I would always certainly encourage you to try to get certified in something, even if you're not going to school, because you can't take those certs away from anyone. There are people that will completely overlook your higher education if you have like a specific certification that says and dictates that you can do something. Um, so yeah, it really sucks when like all you know how to do is YouTube, but also knowing how to do YouTube is a skill. Like you need to realize that. It's hard, man. People think that, you know, you just sit in front of your webcam and you talk for like 10, 15 minutes and then that's it. No, you have to record it. You have to have good dialogue. You have, when you're editing, you have to like clip out the ums and likes and all the awkward pauses that you have in between. You know, you have to research a topic. You have to come up with clever thumbnails, clever titles so that people will want to click it. You know, those clickbaity titles, which this video, by the way, is totally clickbait. Um, so there is a skill to this. There's a skill in marketing yourself. So even if you just say that you do YouTube, you're still doing something. It's not like you just cease to have any skills because you don't have what society deems your skill set should be. You know, like there is a value to these skills. That's all I'm saying.
get a job at Vitamix. It was in the spring. I remember it. I just get random memories of things like because it was in the spring and it was one of those days in Ohio where it had snowed the night before, but it was the spring, so the next day it was like 50 degrees. You could still see snow accumulation on the ground, but it was rapidly melting. I'm sorry, I just have a vivid memory of that. But I went and to this interview and I was like dressed up and stuff and they're not even interviews, dude. They just take you to like a round and they're like, oh yeah, this is what you got to do. You can't wear headphones. It's like I'm literally at a conveyor belt, you know, doing the same exact thing 5,000 times. You're not going to allow me to wear AirPods? Are you kidding me? But they're
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I have to say something about this. So I completely know what he's going through. I had a job a while back that was completely soulless, man. It was so soul sucking. You could have put a monkey in my place, and as long as the monkey knew the proper motions, the monkey could have done the exact same job. And they did not want us wearing headphones, which I thought was extremely depressing and demoralizing because it's like you have me here for 8+ hours a day doing the same repetitive motion. You don't want me to interact with anyone. I can't go on my phone and look up anything. I can't listen to anything to keep my brain occupied from this monotonous motion that I'm constantly doing. And then they will get upset at you if you like got drowsy and whatnot, or you wanted to get up and get a coffee because you couldn't keep yourself awake because what you were doing was so draining and soul sucking. That is one of the most depressing things someone can ever go through. And if that doesn't push you to want to do anything, nothing will, man. I'll tell you this much. That's actually what made me start getting into content creation is when I started at that job. Because I worked there for 7 years, man. 7 years of my existence was taken working at this soulless job. Now, granted, towards the end, before I left, they did finally become a little more lenient and allowed us to use like headphones, which made the job significantly easier, man. It's like, who would have thought, man? Try to keep the morale of your employees up and they might be happy and they might perform better. But Oh man, I'm sorry. That triggered the shit out of me, man. All right. This video's almost over. We're like on the last minute.
They're not even interviews. They just give you the job as long as you want them. But I didn't take the job because I was like, oh, I'll make it on YouTube. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I haven't had a boss in 5 years. Now, the last time I had a boss was maybe 6 years. I don't know, maybe in 2018 or something. But either way, yeah, I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent. I'm starting to not even be able to I can't even remember. That was weird, man. I just couldn't even remember how old I was. I think it's from sleep deprivation. I'm just gonna upload this video and go to sleep. I think try and go to sleep. I think I'll be able to sleep a little bit better tonight. But yeah, it just sucks when you realize that you just missed out on everything. And it's such a normal thing now with so many of us, especially males. It's just a horrible loneliness to a lot of our lives. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.
All right. I mean, yeah, that was his video. I would say it's a little clickbaity for him to say when I realize it's over as a young man. Definitely clickbait. Because I don't think he said anything here that was too crazy. A lot of it was actually kind of relatable, believe it or not. There's no judgments, man. Shout out to the Press Ginger, by the way. Well, mind you, again, this is not a criticism on him. I just felt that it'd be a good video to analyze. I want to kind of dive into this world a little bit more, where I do reactions, because I feel that I have opinions and perspectives, and I want to talk about them sometimes. And heck, man, if I have a channel, why not just do it? Everybody else is doing it, right? So let me know if this is something that you found useful. I will say towards the end though that I don't think it's over. I wouldn't want to leave a video with such a pessimistic out view. He doesn't sound like he's like a black pill or anything. He just sounds like a dude that's just doesn't know what to do with himself, or rather there's stuff that's wrong with him, and he needs to figure out what it is. Which, by the way, I will go to the doctor for that stuff. But in any case, I don't think it's over for young men, especially, like, that's the key word, right? Young. You still have plenty of time. You could be 40 and 50 and still have time, believe it or not. A lot of people that made it to the upper echelons of success in this world did it at a later age. They didn't all do it when they were like in their 20s. Sometimes people work throughout their entire 20s and even 30s, and then in their 40s they might hit their stride, right? So I would just say never give up, man. At the end of the day, there's a ton of things that we can do to better our lives, man. And if you feel down and out, if you really feel like it's over for you and you don't know what else to do with yourself, I would suggest seeking some sort of professional assistance. It might be fine and dandy to listen to content creators and use us as sort of like pseudo fathers and whatnot, right? And my podcast is about lessons I wish I knew when I was younger, So even to an extent, I sort of function as one of those people. But again, I don't substitute my personal anecdotes as experience that could be viable to them unless it's applied through a filter of speaking to a professional, especially if you're genuinely depressed and you feel like you have no way forward, you have no recourse. There is always something you can do. You don't have to give up. All right. Now, with that said, if you like this, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. I'm not going to be too long-winded. You're all awesome, and don't ever let anyone tell you different. Signing off.